Hackers are hacking people and they're not hacking technology. We live in a world where people love to leave personal information on social media that hackers can use against them. Hackers, they used to have to steal this kind of personal information, but they don't have to steal it anymore. We are giving it away. We're giving it to them.
About 83% of current ransomware and attacks on organizations actually come from employees. And if you implement some proper training and some strategies, you can really significantly reduce the amount of threat surface that your organization faces.
Welcome to the Inside Forbes Councils podcast. Each episode shares transformative insights and advice from members of Forbes Councils, a group of invitation-only communities for successful executives and entrepreneurs. This is Inside Forbes Councils.
Welcome to Inside Forbes Councils. My name is Stephen Ganoza. Today we have two Forbes Councils members, both of whom are named Dan, believe it or not, who are going to share their insights on cybersecurity and expose the number one threat to your organization, and most likely it's not what you think. First, Danny Pehar, Managing Director of Security Awareness at Cytelligence, will discuss the importance of education when it comes to cybersecurity.
Hi everybody, my name is Danny Pehar and I am the Managing Director of Security Awareness at Cytelligence. Cytelligence specializes in the delivery of actionable security consulting. So I wanted to take this time to give a quick lesson on what to consider regarding cybersecurity, starting with three very important laws of cybersecurity. Law number one, if you have data, then you have cyber risk. Law number two, if there is a vulnerability, it will be exploited. And law number three, humans are far more vulnerable than technology. So let me dive into that third one. I've been in the cybersecurity industry for most of my adult life, and I've had the benefit of working with a lot of really cool digital forensics professionals. These are the guys that get called in after a security breach happened. And they get called in to figure out, among other things, what went wrong. And so working with these guys and getting to look closely at the digital forensics of many breaches, what we've noticed after looking at the acquired evidence is that that evidence often points to a similar root cause. And that is that people are getting tricked into doing things they shouldn't be doing. I'm talking year after year, millions of people, they cannot resist the temptation of clicking on those interesting phishing emails, not to mention a wide range of other cyber no-nos. This is making it clear that hackers are hacking people and they're not hacking technology. But to add to this problem, we live in a world where people love to leave personal information on social media that hackers can use against them. Hackers, they used to have to steal this kind of personal information, but they don't have to steal it anymore. We are giving it to them. And of course, the more a hacker knows about a potential victim, the more they can target their attack with a convincing message. So a well-targeted and researched phishing attack, this is known as a spear phishing attack, and this has an incredibly high success rate. So part of the problem is, as we rely on cybersecurity technologies to protect us, we have not kept up our own security awareness skills up to date, or at least enough to match our desire to keep up with the digital revolution. Yes, we love living in a digital world. I'm talking about from doing business to socializing and pretty much everything in between. We share information in the form of digital content. That information gets bought, sold, traded, and stolen every day. And even after all the stories in the news about breaches, as we share our digital content in our comfortable digital world, many of us ignore the first law of cybersecurity, thinking, who'd come after me? I've got nothing anyone wants. And then, even those of us that believe in and observe the first law of cybersecurity, they may ignore the second and third by thinking, hey, it's okay if I do something wrong, like click on this link I'm not sure of. I got a firewall, I'm protected. And to add to this problem, as organizations and people in general look to others for assistance in this confusing world of cybersecurity, they are finding a tough time getting the help that they need, as there is a massive cybersecurity skills gap that seems to keep growing. This point about the skills gap, this is very near and dear to my heart. Although now and for a while now there is a lot of statistics about cybersecurity and the skills gap and the problems it's creating, I had actually noticed this back in 2009 before I ever read a single statistic about it. I was running a cybersecurity team. I had a spot open. I knew two people that I trusted, that I admired in this industry that were coincidentally unemployed at the exact same time that I had a job. But when I interviewed them, you would not believe the hard time they were giving me. They both separately told me that they were getting so many job offers from so many different places. And by the way, this was not some sort of leverage. They weren't playing hardball. Neither of them ended up working for me. And what I realized was there are more desperately needed jobs in the cybersecurity industry than there are qualified people to fill them. And this was creating a huge problem for me. And I'm talking about back in 2009. Before I ever saw a stat about it, things have only gotten worse since. Well, what do we do about it? Well, perhaps the answer to at least partially solve the problems associated with the cybersecurity skills gap and the lack of cybersecurity awareness is rooted in educating a younger audience. Let's talk to our future leaders, the ones currently sitting in grade school, the ones currently sitting in high school, and let's teach them how to determine whether or not something is in fact sensitive information and how it needs to be protected. Let's help them understand what a corrupt link, website, or attachment is and where they are most likely to be vulnerable to a hacker's scam. And of course, what to do in the event of a breach. But let's also teach them about the benefits of joining this wonderful industry of cybersecurity, an industry where they can find purpose in helping others prevent and detect threats brought on by the digital age, and how to recover from what could be an awful experience. All the while having the comfort knowing they'll be entering an industry where they'll most likely never experience difficulty finding a job. When attempting to educate a younger audience, or really any audience in the world of cybersecurity, it is best to start with the first law that I mentioned here. Everything in cybersecurity begins and ends with the understanding that if you have data, then you have cyber risk. If your audience truly does not believe their data is at risk, your lesson will fall on deaf ears. Start your lesson with stories and case studies on how real this problem is and make it specific to your audience. A high school audience may not put much thought into stats on cyber breaches negatively impacting the healthcare industry, but they may certainly pay attention when they know how it connects to them. From there, you move on to the second and third law, referenced here, essentially explaining to the audience that their actions have serious consequences. Once the three laws are explained and understood by your audience, then you simply move your lesson towards common mistakes made by similar groups and what your audience needs to do differently. In the digital world we live in, information is the new currency. And of course, that currency needs to be protected. Good cybersecurity awareness is not just for organizations. It's not just for governments, but it's for individuals everywhere. In a connected world, we each have a responsibility to protect ourselves and the people we interact with. The outcome of who wins the war on cybersecurity all depends on how well we train the next generation of future leaders. So if you want to learn more about cybersecurity awareness training, if you want to have these kinds of discussions, you can find me on LinkedIn. My name's Danny Pehar. I checked LinkedIn earlier. I seem to be the only Danny Pehar on there. You can find me on Twitter. My handle is @DannyPehar, or you can check out our site at cytelligence.com. I hope to connect with you soon.
This is Inside Forbes Councils. We'll be right back.
Are you a successful executive or entrepreneur with insights to share? Learn more about our invitation-only communities at ForbesCouncils.com. Forbes Councils members have the opportunity to collaborate with fellow business leaders to overcome challenges and create new opportunities. Members also have access to support benefits that help them save time and money, and a platform, Community Voice, on Forbes.com, through which they can amplify their voices and exchange ideas. See if you qualify at ForbesCouncils.com.
Next, we have Daniel Schwartz, the president of Design IT Solutions, who's going to share what he believes to be the number one threat that an organization faces in terms of cybersecurity. And once again, it might not be what you think.
Hi, my name is Daniel Schwartz, and I'm the president of Design IT Solutions. We are a managed services and security firm. Today, I want to talk to you a little bit about one of the largest threats an organization faces and some things you can do to help mitigate those problems. Most people don't really realize that about 83% of current ransomware and attacks on organizations actually come from employees. And if you implement some proper training and some strategies, you can significantly reduce the amount of threat surface that your organization faces. Today, I want to talk a little bit about my experience, what we've seen, and some practical steps you can take to mitigate this problem. I've been doing audits for companies for a very long time, security audits to be specific. And these audits take various forms. Some of them are just network audits where we're looking at vulnerabilities in the network, software patches that haven't been done, Windows updates type of thing, specific unique applications that might have exploit or something like that. Those are, pretty mundane and not a lot you can do. The other audits that we do that have to do with physical security or social engineering, which is probably the largest issue, those are the ones that get a lot more exciting. A recent group that we went to, we were able to get in not only the front door, we were able to walk around all the stories of their building, multiple floors. We were able to talk with employees. We had people get up and give us full access to their computers, where we could then access network files. We could pull up proprietary information right in front of them. Some of them would even say, "How long is this going to take?" We'd say, a few minutes. They're like, "Perfect, I'm going to go grab a coffee." They'd leave us unattended with their computers, full access to whatever we wanted. We could change their password. We could access email. We could access network shares. We could obviously plant a backdoor virus or, anything we wanted on these computers. They didn't know us from Adam. We had been hired by the company, but it was kept secret that we were coming to see what we could do. We had security guards let us into locked closets and locked rooms where network gear was. These are security guards, mind you. No ask for credentials. They just believed the story we told them. And this is the biggest problem, is employees today are very believable. They're trusting is the right word. They listen to what people tell them. They listen to the story. And if you know what you're talking about, it's not hard to deceive people. And not being hard to deceive people, we found that we can actually get wherever we want. And this brings up the reason why there's such a large issue with employees and security vulnerabilities. I can send them an email that sounds and smells and looks like it should be real, and they click on a link, and now I've just infected their machine. I've brought them to a phishing site that looks legitimate. I've been able to compromise something. I've asked them for their passwords and usernames because I presented myself like I'm from IT. I've redirected them to a website that looks legitimate. I've sent them an attachment that they opened that has now infected their machine and given me access. So 83% of ransomware is sent by social media type or a social engineering type approach, which means it comes in a form of an attachment. It comes as a hyperlink. It goes to a website that makes them click on something. All of that can be mitigated just simply by doing training. So what do we train? Well, first we start with, in the onboarding process, when you hire a new person, what are you going to teach them? What should they know? Well, in the onboarding process, they should obviously go through an appropriate use policy. If you don't have an AUP outlined, you should do that and have all employees sign that. The appropriate use policy should be exactly that. What is appropriate use of the computers? What can we do? What sites should we not go to? A lot of companies say, hey, no social media, no non-work related use of the computers. And we get pushback from managers who are like, we want to be a friendly group and we want to be inviting to our employees and we don't want to be watchdogs and all that. And what it boils down to is computers are there for the corporation's needs, not for employees' fun time. Everybody has a smartphone. People can bring in a tablet device, whatever, and they can keep that, join it to a guest Wi-Fi, not the corporate Wi-Fi, but a guest or staff Wi-Fi, and let them use their social media on there. They don't need the work computers to check their personal email. They need to do that on other devices. So your appropriate use policy should outline what they should be doing and what they should not be doing. So one, on the onboarding process, do that. And quarterly, you need to review that with employees because they don't remember what they signed. Then go through email and email procedures. Look, IT's never going to email you for your password. Don't give your password out in email. We're also not going to email you asking for account numbers. Things that should be in a policy that state, we aren't going to do this, so don't give that information out. Also, there should be a standard policy, don't click on attachments unless they're specific to your job function. People should be emailing only text in their emails if there's attachments, an invoice or whatnot. Make sure that the person is reputable. Make sure you know that the company that's sending it is somebody you do business with. A lot of times they will make these emails look legitimate, but they're not actually from somebody you do business with, so you don't open those attachments. Passwords should be changed frequently. There's a happy medium there. You really don't want passwords to be changed more, or I should say less than 60 days old and not more than 120 days old. We want them changed right in that middle area because we find that people write them down less if they don't have to change them as frequent, but also we don't want them changed too infrequently or hackers could have access to your network too long. Again, no personal emails. Do quarterly, if you have staff meetings, whether monthly or quarterly, do trainings and reviews, do prizes and give out, hey, we went a whole month or 3 months without anybody getting a virus or clicking on a link. Do some phishing tests. There are sites you can sign up for. We have services, there's lots of them out there that will test your employees. They'll send them phishing campaigns to see how many people will click on them. It's surprising to me how many users still do. And that's the purpose of the test, and that's why you want to do that as frequently as you can to keep it fresh in their brain, fresh in their mind. So do these tests. Do random questions. Stop by people's desks. Have IT spend, every other Friday or once a month going around and just, hey, here's a list of questions. If you answer one right, you get entered in a drawing. Make it so people want to know the answers and get it right, and make it kind of fun to understand security. And people will remember it. And that right there is probably the biggest tip I can give you. Make it so that it's not boring and it's never going to happen. I don't want to hear it again. Make it exciting with some kind of a game, something fun, but have it scheduled and routine. If you want to know more, you can check out our website, designitsolutions.com. We've got a blog running there with posts every day. You can find me on LinkedIn, Daniel Schwartz, Schwartz, and I'm on LinkedIn. I've got posts on there, posts on Facebook under Design IT Solutions. Please reach out if you have questions. Look forward to talking to you again sometime in the future.
This has been Inside Forbes Councils. Please be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you're a member of the Forbes Councils and would like to participate in our podcast series, please email your member concierge. If you're interested in joining a Forbes Council, learn more at ForbesCouncils.com.